that was one of the things that Tito Santana told us last year on our 1-year anniversary show, was that anytime he felt he was in the ring with you, he almost felt like, was getting out of a street fight because of that chop, because of the hammer. And that's a great physical style. But do you think that physical style in 2016, if you were right now on the active roster of a main company like WWE, do you think many of the guys today could handle the hammer? They could handle those knife-edge chops?
Well, I'm sure they could. These guys are all in great shape. They're muscle-bound. They go to the gyms all the time. But, if they started that crisscrossing and running, I'd just stand there in the corner and watch them. Come to me. It's not about running around, jumping over guys and jumping off the top rope. I never had to wrestle like that. I see a lot of that stuff. I respect the athleticism, but that's not the kind of wrestling that I like and will even watch. If I see, I watch the product now and then. If I see a wrestling match, I'll watch it. But I say, gee, you know what, they're actually wrestling. So, I just hate all that running stuff, because it's, I come from the generation where you make it look like a real fight. And if you've got somebody down, all of a sudden you get up and start crisscrossing across the ring. What kind of crap is that? Come on. You got to make it look like, and going off the top rope, that's athletic too, but I hardly ever did in my career, and I didn't have a problem getting booked. The thing is, and I'm totally old school, but I'm even older than old school because I came up with, being raised by Johnny Valentine, who could go out there and lay in a headlock for 20 minutes and then turn around and grab a guy's arm for another 20 minutes, and he'd have people riding and try to get in the ring. So, it's like a psychology thing. You don't have to play to the crowd for every kind of pop. All you got to do is you got to have that psychology and make it look real, and you won't have a problem with it. A lot of people have a problem with that, believe it or not.
Yeah, and to steal a phrase from the Hot Rod, you guys were old school before old school was a catchphrase or a nickname. But
yeah, I didn't even know. One time I'm on some show, I don't know who the guy was up at ESPN. He goes, old school, and I go, old school? That was the first time I ever heard that word. But now, of course, it's used all the time, and probably more times than not. But I guess I am old school. But it's the best. I'm going to say it's the best school.
Yeah, if you like professional wrestling, old school is the only way to go, and that's kind of how we do it here on the podcast. But I'll tell you what, you mentioned your dad in there. We're going to get to him in a minute. But is there anybody on that WWE roster, if you do get a chance to catch it, is there anybody that you actually enjoy watching, or is it just all kind of one lump show with a bunch of moving parts?
Well, I don't watch it that much, to be honest, but I guess because of his dad, and I know the kid real well, is Randy Orton, because he's old school and it's born into him. But I haven't seen him much lately. He's kind of in this tag team thing. I do enjoy the Wyatts because they're so bizarre, and actually, I guess one of them is Mike Rotundo. The main guy is Mike Rotundo's son. So there you got some more second-generation stuff in there, too, or third-generation, as it is with Randy Orton. So, it's good to see stuff like that, It's entertaining to me, the Wyatts and how they do that. But then you go with some guy kicking his opponent 15 times, and then the other guy hits him back twice, and he falls down. It's just come on, I had so many matches that were literally dog fights, like with Ronnie Garvin and Ric Flair and Piper and Tito Santana and me and Beefcake against the Bulldogs. I mean, these were competitive matches, and I think they blow away anything that you really see nowadays, except maybe the main event at WrestleMania. I mean, there's a lot of good matches still out there, but we blow a lot of that stuff away. But they're nowadays are up against 3 hours of Monday night TV, and then they're up against 2 more hours on Tuesday night. The product is watered down, and they got so much stuff going on. They you know, how are they going to come up with anything original? So that's why they talk so much. So, you know, well, I'd hate to have that headache of, okay, what am I going to do after I just finished Monday Night Raw? What am I going to do next week for 3 hours? You know, I mean, Jesus criminy. I mean, how you know, it's just way too much television. And then they got the pay-per-views every month. Good God.
Yeah, the pay-per-view thing is obviously, that has just gone completely south because it was the Big Four for the longest time, and you guys had the house show business, which is how, you know, we all grew up watching the big shows. Was the monthly, you know, stops in the Garden or up in Boston or down in Philly. But, you know, you mentioned in there your dad, you know, you mentioned a couple of these third and second generation wrestlers, and there's a lot of them now, obviously, Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt. We saw Ted DiBiase's son a few years back trying to, you know, penetrate the WWE landscape, Roman Reigns with the Samoans and the endless amount of Samoans that come in and out of the WWE. But do you think that these guys feel pressure now, maybe a different kind of pressure than, I don't know if you even felt any, but they're following the footsteps of guys that have been TV stars, whereas your dad was a star, obviously, in the golden age of wrestling, where the age that you guys all learned from. But now these kids coming in, they're learning from the TV stars. Do you think these guys feel a little bit more pressure than possibly, you know, your era of wrestlers that were coming in?
Well, it's certainly got to be a lot more pressure, I would think, you know. I don't know how much money there's a certain amount of guys that make a lot of money, but that's not the whole roster, of course. There's always that pressure to try to stay on top, and you know, the Giant up there is a good friend of mine, and you know, you can't change what he's done. You know, it's I think it's a pressure on everybody concerned because I know the ratings are down. I don't know. Last time I heard it was 1.9, but then all ratings are down on TV right now with this, just for this. So I think everybody's watching Fox News or something. But that pretty much the election's over. Maybe these ratings will come back and stuff. Even the NFL ratings are down. So, you know, it's here it is. You know, it's just hard. It's hard to follow our act. Just like all these new, you know, rock and roll and movies and everything, it's hard. It's hard to follow all the good stuff that's been done, you know, without repeating yourself. But maybe they should. You know, I would honestly say if they hired me, which will never happen, if they hired me to be a booker in the WWE today, right away I would tell everybody to slow down. And I would tell them to grab a hold. And for a while, people would probably be bored. But then, you know, if you slowed it down, you got everybody to wrestle again. And if you're going to throw a punch, you let it in and all that. And don't have guys running out to the ring every time something happens, you know. I mean, how many times did WCW do that? And it killed their business. You know, everybody, all the fans would be looking, who's going to run in? Who's going to run in? And sure enough, someone ran in. So that's the thing of running out of things to do. So if they slowed it down and just had wrestling and wrestle for belts only and quit doing interviews inside the ring, I would stop that out completely and I would go back to locker room interviews, like with Gene Okerlund and all that kind of stuff. You know, you know, history repeats itself, and wrestling has always been like a full circle. and you need to get back to that circle in the center where it all started in the golden age in the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s with the Attitude Era. I don't know what's happened now. It's like I said, they can't create anything new. What's WrestleMania going to be? Do you know what the main event's going to be coming up? It's going to be
is right
Goldberg and somebody. Goldberg and Brock, right?
Yep, Goldberg and Brock Lesnar is the rumor. Yep.
Well, I think that would be a good one, because everybody knows who they are. Goldberg's a big, tough guy, and of course Brock, you can't get any tougher than that. That's a good headliner. I don't know what the rest of it will be, but, you got to have that. Maybe they'll bring Rock back for something, too. The Rock.
Probably, yeah, probably.
Well, he's got the charisma in the movies, and he's the highest paid actor in Hollywood right now. It's amazing. And the guy never even went to drama school, never went to acting school, nothing. And, well, I told my wife, yeah, but he was a wrestler. So,